I've placed over 200 virtual assistants into businesses and helped founders save thousands of hours as a result. But every single day, I see people hiring VAs the wrong way. I end up wasting so much time and money in the process. And that's why I decided to make this video to show you the most common mistakes that people make and, more importantly, how to actually do it the right way. So let's get into it. Mistake number 1, not knowing what you actually need. Before hiring, the first mistake people make is not understanding what a VA can actually do for them. Most people underestimate VAs and think that they are only good for cleaning up inboxes and scheduling social media posts. But after surveying 30 plus executive assistants and digging through their end-of-day reports, this is what VAs and EAs are actually doing. 35% is communication and coordination. For example, email, calendars, meetings, follow-ups. Another 30%, they are operations and admin. So for example, project tracking, logistics, task management. 22% is content. For example, LinkedIn posts, newsletters, planning, and formatting. 13% is data and research. For example, CRM updates, cleanup, sourcing, and digging into insights. The notion of VAs being headset-wearing customer service agents is false and very outdated, because VAs are not just admins. They can be operations engines, and the best ones think proactively and they fill gaps that nobody else is seeing. Now, the other part of this mistake is hiring a generic VA without a clear scope, which results in you not having enough work for them to do. And you end up frustrating, feeling like the VA was just a waste of money. But really the hire failed because you were not clear on what you needed in the first place. So before you hire, open your project management software, review every task that you've completed in a day, in a week, in a month, and ask yourself which of these tasks are urgent but don't actually need my brain. In other words, focus on tasks that need to be done but don't require you specifically. Then do a quick litmus test. Can you fill 20 plus hours per week of work for them? If so, you are ready to move on. If not, it's probably not worth hiring a VA just yet. For reference, here's what one of my own executive assistants' daily report looks like. Inbox management and drafting responses, LinkedIn connection requests, and the content calendar, sales campaign inbox monitoring, event attendee list updates, invoicing clients, lead outreach, data migration, and all of that is 8+ hours of work that I do not have to think about every single day. Mistake number 2, trying to pay bottom dollar. The second mistake that I see people making is trying to hire the cheapest VA possible. Most people hear outsourcing and think, wow, I'm going to save a ton of money. And this leads them to trying to pay the absolute least that they can for roles that require skilled talent. Then naturally, nobody qualified even applies for these positions because you're not going to outsource a full-time client-facing role for $4 an hour. For example, we had a client who said that a VA is just not worth more than $10 an hour. If they're doing $10 an hour tasks, sure. But if you are offloading tasks that you would otherwise pay $30 to $40 an hour, they're absolutely worth more. So there's a stigma around the term VA that implies they can't do high leverage work, but I have seen firsthand what educated, English fluent, hardworking overseas talent can do, and it is worth way more than $10 an hour. But the goal should not be to save 95% compared to US talent. It should be to save 50 to 60%. At that rate, you get incredible talent without sacrificing quality. So with this in mind, where should you hire from? We hire our EAs and our VAs exclusively from the Philippines, and here's why. Number 1, English proficiency. For $14 to $16 an hour, you can get near native English, spoken and written. Another reason is the lower scam rates, 80% less of online fraud compared to other outsourcing countries. Another reason is the cost savings without sacrificing quality. Another one being cultural fit with US businesses. And one fun aspect of that cultural fit is they often watch the same Netflix shows that we do, and they've been speaking English since very early age, and they're very familiar with our culture, and they're very familiar with Americans in general, and it is really easy to talk to them and to connect with them on a personal level. By the way, if you do not want to deal with finding a VA yourself, then the job postings, the filtering, the vetting, everything, that's exactly why we built Coconut VA. You can click the link in the description below to book a free call, and we will just handle it all for you. Now back to the video. Mistake number 3, skipping proper vetting. The third mistake I see that people make is they cut corners on vetting and ending up regretting that. A lot of people will spend an hour messaging a VA on a freelancer platform and immediately hire them. This simply is not enough. You need to have a more thorough vetting process. So here's what you need to filter for. First, time availability. You want your VAs to be available for a minimum of 20 hours a week. If they're working a full-time job already, pass on them. VAs can become vital parts of your business, and that does not happen with 3 to 4 hours per week. Second, English proficiency. You need C1 or C2 level English. Not all VAs communicate effectively in English. Do not just assume that, actually test it. And one easy way to do that is to have them send in an intro video or just set up a video call and see how they handle real conversation. I would also recommend asking them to send you a writing sample or complete a short written task. Third, experience. They should have at least 1 year as a VA, preferably with an international company or better yet, a US based company. You don't want somebody to learn on your dime or to get used to what this outsourcing VA type work looks like. And of course, ask for references or examples of past work. Beyond the basics, here is a vetting process that works. Start with an application that requires a little bit of effort. This filters out people who just mass apply to jobs. Require an intro video where they talk about their experience. And in these intro videos, that is where you can really check very quickly if they are fluent in English. You can get a feel of their personality. You can have that first impression with that intro video. If everything goes well at that point, give them a small paid test task or hiring task relevant to the role. Next, have an interview over video, not just messaging. But here's somebody that nobody really talks about. High quality and low quality candidates can often appear the same on paper. Both groups can sometimes skip those intro video requirements. The high quality people, they just don't think it's worth their time. The low quality people, maybe they don't think it's worth their time either, but it's more out of laziness. They're mass applying for jobs, 200 applications type of a thing, where the high quality applicants, maybe they really want this job, maybe they would be very qualified, but they just don't want to take their time doing that for every single role, so they pass that up. And the same thing with instructions. Both don't always follow instructions perfectly. One maybe out of laziness, one maybe it feels beneath them. Now, all of that is why referrals and direct outreach often work better than open applications. And for reference, we reject about 950 out of every 1,500 applicants to our VA community. We only place 10 to 30 clients per month. Our clients literally are getting the very top 1% of all applicants. And that level of filtering is what separates a great hire from a frustrating one. Mistake number 4, not running a trial period. The fourth mistake is committing to monthly payments before seeing if it's actually a fit. Never commit to long-term without trialing your VA first. A trial lets you confidently onboard knowing that it is going to work. Now, I would recommend paying market rate for this work, and I would also recommend doing a trial period of about 1 to 2 weeks, really 20 to 40 hours of work, depending if you want them part-time or full-time. We've seen a lot of success from that, and 90% of the time, that time period really works well to get a good first impression of how well are they going to work in your company and how well they're going to do in this role. And here's what to look for during that trial period. Do they have proactive communication throughout the process? Do they have a quick turnaround on tasks? Are they willing to learn and improve? Now, mistake number 5, disappearing after you hire. The final mistake is hiring someone and then expecting them to just figure it out alone. That's how you end up frustrated and thinking, man, outsourcing just doesn't work. You need to do the prep work, and you do need to do a small bit of hand-holding at the beginning. Some clients get a little bit too excited, a little ambitious, and they say, hey, here's all of the Loom videos, here's all of the SOPs, go for it, and then expect to have no questions at all. Now, there is a balance here. You want somebody that can hit the ground running, you want somebody that's proactive, but to some degree, they do still have to adapt to your style of work, they have to adapt to your company, they have to adapt to a few different things that are special and unique to your company and to your working style. So there does need to be communication still within these first few weeks of working with them before you can really just let them go and have at it. And after you hire, it typically takes about 2 weeks for a VA to master a repeatable process. In those first 2 weeks, it's important that you over communicate, provide as much information as possible. If you hold back, then they will continue to come back with questions over a longer period of time. And now you want to start off with daily end of day reports. You want to see hours worked and tasks completed. You don't need a time tracker. I would recommend not having a dedicated time tracker and definitely not a screen tracker, but just ask them to complete end of day reports to say, hey, I worked these hours and this is what I completed today. This really helps you tie performance to outcomes, and you build up their confidence over time. You can see what they accomplish and see how that grows over time. And make sure that you celebrate these small wins in the beginning. Share constructive feedback whenever you have it. Make sure to give that feedback privately wherever possible, and give them a roadmap for how they can improve and where they can go in your company in the future. Because the real goal is to empower them to solve problems on their own. As I've said throughout this video, VAs can do a lot more than people give them credit for. Again, as my own example, after 6 months of working together, I moved my executive assistant to weekly reports instead of daily because she had proven that she was accomplishing so much during every single day. I didn't want her to be bogged down by this admin work of wrapping up every day with this daily report. She would have a note, she would have project management tools. At the end of the week, she could spend some time collating those, aggregating those, and then sending those off to me. And at that point, you already have some trust established, and they're already running fairly independently. Now, what does this look like when you get it all right? So if you can avoid all of these mistakes, you hire a VA in the right way, you will have an incredible team for a fraction of the price if you hired somebody in the US. Now, let me show you some numbers for building a team. If you hired these roles in the US, an operations manager at $90,000 a year, account executive, $70,000 a year plus commission, 2 SDRs, $50,000 a year each plus commission, an HR manager, maybe $60,000 a year, a customer service rep or a couple of those, $50,000 a year each. So total, that all comes out to $420,000 per year. Now, if you sourced that team from the Philippines, an operations manager that may cost $50,000 a year, account executive, maybe $42,000 a year plus commission, 2 SDRs, $36,000 a year each plus commission, an HR manager, $30,000 a year, 2 customer success reps, $25,000 a year each. Now that's $244,000 per year. So that's almost half the cost without losing anything in talent or experience. Now, 13 of the 15 people at our $3 million a year company are based in the Philippines, including our CEO as well as our account executive. They work harder than most American talent that I know of, and they speak amazing fluent English. Our CEO, Donna, started as our executive assistant. She built our people ops and hiring processes, which helped drop our churn to single-digit numbers. And now she really runs the entire company. So that's what's possible when you hire right and invest in your people. Now, I know that figuring out what to delegate, creating SOPs, finding the right person, managing them through that first 90-day period, that's a lot to figure out on your own. So if you want us to handle all of that for you, click the first link in the description below and book a free call with us, where we will walk you through what role makes sense for your needs, what you should delegate first, and whether Coconut VA is the right fit to help you hire somebody. Now, working with us, we will source, vet, interview candidates for you. You work with your top pick VA for 40 hours completely free before you commit to anything at all. So again, click that link below, book a call. And if you want to know how I run a $3 million a year business with just VAs, then watch this video next.